Hi, welcome! So, some of you may be wondering where I've been for the last month, and that's pretty simple. School and work got really busy in February, so I really haven't been able to make videos, and then I tried shooting like 2, and I just really didn't like what they ended up looking like, and I just really felt like I could do something a lot better, so here I am, way into the middle of February, trying my hardest to make at least something. Anyway, as a lot of people know, I'm really into beat poetry and beat literature and learning more about the authors around that time. I specifically like to focus on the women and the people of color during that time period just because it was so different for women and people of color back then in, the 40s and the 50s. And also now, it's still very different if you're a woman or a person of color or if you're a queer person, which there is also a lot of people who were involved in the beat movement who were queer, or at the very least experimenting with sexuality. Because there was a lot of experimenting with drugs and experimenting with sexuality and kind of going against these traditional norms. This huge disconnect between this new wave of people and their parents. So I love reading books about the women of the beat movement. I love reading books about the people of color who were involved in the beat movement. I'm currently reading a book right now, but because I'm not done with it, I don't want to talk about it yet because obviously I want to make sure that I really get in depth with it. And already from what I've read versus what I've said in previous videos, this book has really been different than what I was expecting. And I'm really enjoying that. Now, I have a bad habit where I shop for books even though I know I don't have space or the money to shop for books. Well, to buy books at least. I do a lot of virtual window shopping constantly. And it doesn't make it easy that with this whole internet age where you can find just about anything on the internet within a couple of clicks, I go down these rabbit holes of literature. And it's also frustrating too because maybe it's available on one website, but it's got a really high price tag that I don't want to pay for, so then I spend days going through all of my secondhand booksellers, or even sometimes it's cheaper from the publisher versus a certain retailer. So I've spent a lot of time looking for books and looking at books, and I've been going to a lot of thrift stores and secondhand stores in the area lately. Not specifically looking for anything, but just to get out and look. I'm like, I need to do something. I need to get out of the house. So that's what I've been doing. Anyway, there's this absolutely wonderful site called bookshop.org. And the really cool thing about Bookshop is that you can buy books online. Usually they're discounted a little bit than their market price. Usually it's $1 or $2. But still, for someone like me where I'm okay, well, I know that this book isn't being sold at any of the nearby bookstores. I know that this book isn't on, the secondhand book sites where I buy stuff really cheap. Getting that discount at all is really nice. So I love this website because of that. But also, and this is probably the main thing, is that they're actually affiliated with several independent bookstores. So what they do is they are partnered with a specific bookstore. That bookstore goes, okay, well, here's a list of books that we recommend. And then if you buy those books off of the bookstore website for that independent bookstore, you can, they split the profit. So money goes to the independent bookstores, even though it is bookshop.org that has the books in stock and is selling them. Which sounds really complicated, but I'd love to show it to you because I can't believe that more people don't know about this site. I am constantly shopping for books online and in person, and there's a couple of independent bookstores out here where I live that I'm at pretty much every other day. I might as well just get a job at them, because even though I wouldn't be technically buying the books, just being surrounded by them, joy, pure joy. So let's get into this. So here's what the bookshop.org website looks like. As you can see, it just has a lot of bestsellers and, recommendations like, oh, if you like Hemingway, here's a bunch of Hemingway books, famous authors. And of course, it's Black History Month, so of course they're highlighting a lot of Black authors, which is awesome. Literary award finalists. It's really, really cool. And then you can actually go to find a bookstore. This is a fun feature. And so what it does is it goes to like places around you, and then you can kind of go, ooh. This is kind of the area that I live in. So Timber is pretty close. I like them a lot. And then, hold on, let's see. Also has, there's some in Los Angeles. I go to Los Angeles fairly often, so. Oh, it looks like there's only a few in Los Angeles. Or maybe, do I have to go like this? But yeah, there's a bunch of options. What's this? Beyond Baroque. Okay, this is the one that I'm going to talk about right now. So I've actually performed at Beyond Baroque. Beyond Baroque is a super duper cool venue. They do readings, they do performances, they do workshops. It's a really, really cool place that if you enjoy poetry and you enjoy performing poetry or learning more about it, you can totally go to Beyond Baroque's website, and they have so many awesome things. And so what I really want to talk about from this website. Now, as many of you know, I love beat poetry, love beat writers, love beat authors, and I love Beyond Baroque. I've been there, it's a delight. So I was on their website the other day, and I was kind of just scrolling through their stuff. They have a lot of really great book lists. I think their staff curates book lists. And whenever I go to places, I like to see what the staff recommends, because, just because something's a national bestseller doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to enjoy it. And let's say I go, okay, I really enjoyed this book and that book that the staff person is recommending, and they're also recommending this other book. So I'll probably enjoy this book. I've definitely had that happen at my local music shop, where someone will be like, oh, I recommend, these two albums, which I already know and I already enjoy, and then they recommend the third album, and I'm like, well, I might as well at the very least listen to it on Spotify, and if I enjoyed it enough to come back and get the vinyl, then I'll do that. So I love staff recommendations, and I love that Beyond Baroque has them on their page. But I think the thing that I love the most about Beyond Baroque's page is the fact that they actually do have lists for beat literature. And I'm going to show you that right now. So as I was saying, I was just kind of scrolling through, and I was like, ooh, okay, interesting. And then I ran into female beat reading list. And I actually already have minor characters. So I was like, what? So then you click the button that says view list. And here's the female beat reading list that they have. I've read a lot about Joyce Johnson, and I'm soon going to read her memoir, Minor Characters. I already have that book. And then there's just a couple of other ones. And I've never heard of Ellen Mabey or Philomene Long. And this book, I really, really want this, but is unfortunately at the moment out of stock. But it's The Girls Who Are Back, Women Writing the Beat Generation. So I'm really hoping that this comes back into stock soon, because I'd love to read it. Now, I also, while I was on the website, saw just beneath it, Writers of Color Influenced by the Beats. Me. So I got really excited and also checked out this look. So I got really excited and I also checked out this list. And once again, it's a lot of authors. I've only heard of Lorraine Hansberry because we read Raisin in the Sun in school. And then also I've heard of Four Colored Girls, but I've never actually read. So as we know, I really enjoy beat poetry and beat literature. And knowing that Four Colored Girls is inspired by beat poetry and beat literature makes me go, ooh, I'm even more interested in reading it. Especially because I love reading plays. I have like 2 books of plays in my room right now that I'm about to go read. And I didn't know that Lorraine Hansberry was inspired by beats, but I have actually already read that. However, there's just a bunch of books in here that I haven't read yet and I would like to acquire and read, and I'm going to keep an eye out for those books next time I'm out and about, or I could just buy them here because once again, Beyond Baroque is a wonderful bookstore and venue in Venice Beach, and I really want to support them because they do put on a lot of really great educational programming, and because I really enjoy that venue and would love to see it survive and reopen in a post-COVID world. So yeah, that's my most recent experience on the bookshop website. If you're interested in checking out either Beyond Baroque or even what other independent bookstores might be in your area, check out bookshop.org. Find ways to support those small businesses because we know that they're really, really suffering right now, especially small stores that can't really do social distancing because they're so small. I know that there's one in Ojai that I love to go to that sells like old retired library books that because it's so small, they can't let people inside and they've had to set up like bookshelves outside, and those are the only ones that you can shop from even though they have just so many books. So please, please, please make sure to support your local businesses. Check out bookshop.org and see if any of the bookstores in your area have a page so that you can support them through that. And like, I don't know if you saw, but a lot of the books are discounted, so it might end up being cheaper to shop from Bookshop versus, you know, Barnes & Nobles or even Amazon. And I was really excited to find those lists about female beats and women of color who are inspired by the beats. That makes me really, really excited because I love reading and I'm gonna totally read a lot more because I now know that those books exist. In the meantime, make sure to stay safe and stay hydrated. Goodbye, and I'll see you more in March.